Hi, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Caroline Hadfield here. I'm joining you from San Francisco, and Pipette Baby and Mum Range. I'm sponsoring this wonderful session today, and we've got some tremendous participants, and we're going to host a panel really supporting everyone through pregnancy and fertility during these uncertain times. A couple of the subjects we'll be touching on will be unique and personal, but also, reaching out to a lot of the questions we've heard from Motherly, Honest Motherly, and also our particular channels ourselves, even what we've had questions through to our customer service in Pipette. So with no ado, I would like to say thank you to Christine Deering, for joining us. An incredible 4-year growth and delivering a wonderful bump boxes, which really help and support gifting during all the trimesters, which I just think is so unique. And I'll let Christine talk a little bit more about that. Secondly, we have Leslie Schrock, who's joining us, who has just completed an amazing book, and I was privileged to be part of the launch of that book and really hear through her own personal experience, but also her professional experience in the medical and technology industry. And I'll let you take more color on that, Leslie. And I think we have Dr. Kenosh Glenton here. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you, Caroline? Can you hear me and see me okay?
We can. Thank
Okay.
you. I think we were all a little bit technically challenged.
Yeah.
And I
apparently there were 2 accounts created for me, so we're now on the right one. So we're all good.
Yeah.
I did share with the team that, one of the things dealing with shelter in place is if you're people like myself who are technologically challenged, my IT department is my 21-year-old daughter and my husband, and me yelling at them, it's not working. Anyway, yeah, exactly. So I'm glad. I just wanted to
That was just me a minute ago.
So Christine, why don't we just let you quickly do your own introduction and the rest of the panelists.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Deering. I'm the founder and CEO of Bump Boxes. We are the largest monthly pregnancy subscription service. So moms can actually sign up at any point during their pregnancy, and they receive a box of products that are specifically tailored to their due date. So every month, mom gets a specific box of products that's just for her right when she needs it. And it's all themed around what mom is going through during that specific month. We launched Bump Boxes about 4.5 years ago. We've just been growing like crazy. We reach about 14 million moms a month across all of our channels. And it's just been an extraordinary ride. And it's just so great just to see all of our moms and the community that we've built along with it. It's just been great.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Leslie?
Oh, from bump boxes to bumping. I love it. So
I know, right? It fits. It just fits.
It's perfect. You couldn't, Caroline, you just did marvelously organizing this. Yeah. So I'm Leslie Schrock. I have spent about a decade in health and technology. I actually started my career as a designer, and I'm now an investor and author. That's my book. So I actually wrote Bumpin' out of my own personal frustration and just kind of not feeling like we really empower families with the tools to be successful. So I had 3 pregnancies to bring my son into the world. The first was a miscarriage. The second was found not to be viable at 12 weeks, and was really kind of like the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. And as someone who's worked in health and tech for a long time, I kept thinking to myself, if this is this difficult for me, what is it like for everyone else? And so, I decided to translate that into something good, and I just opened up my life. I now talk about this all the time in the hope that anyone who's going through any difficulty with fertility, pregnancy, parenting, anything else, that you are not alone. It's really hard. It's not all puppies and sunshine. It's amazing. It's been like the most extraordinary journey of my life. I love my son more than anything, but it's not always easy. And really, I see my job as just empowering people with information. I created a guide to, I actually created an interactive version of my book, which I just did a session with Notion about a half an hour ago to talk about, because I keep getting questions about COVID and just, what to do during this challenging time. And so I'm happy to send out that link to anyone who's going through it. But basically, I open sourced my book. So you can buy it if you want, but I also created just a free guide with lots and lots of resources. And I'm a huge fan of everyone on this panel. I think it's a really extraordinary group. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Leslie. And Dr. Kenosha, I think we've lost you a little bit.
Oh
no.
Well, why don't we start with some of the questions, but maybe for everyone who's listening, here she is.
Oh,
Hello.
there she is.
Just in time, Kenosha. We were just going to get you to introduce yourself. We can't hear you at the moment. Can you?
I think.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, you're muted, I think.
Okay, so if we maybe give Kenosha a few minutes, and then we'll come back to Kenosha. Well, I thought I would help sort of moderate all of us spending this afternoon with some questions that we've had in, and also ones that we feel are sort of more directly driven to some of the panelists. So, Christine, what I wrote just some questions to really help myself stay focused. Looking at the bump boxes, what have you had to navigate the items that you put in them? How have you tried to make sure that things are in people when they get them that just seem a little bit irrelevant in this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think lucky for us, the majority of the products are relevant, which is great. And I think one thing that has definitely been a focal point is the safety of products, right? It's trying to figure out how mom can get these safe products in a safe way. And so I think when it comes to our products, we have a very extensive vetting process that we do behind the scenes. So we screen against a lot of chemicals to make sure that there's nothing that would be an endocrine disruptor or affect your hormones in any way, because those are the building blocks of your baby. So we do a lot behind the scenes to kind of vet our products ahead of time. As far as like the relevancy, luckily, with the shelter in place, the products are actually hyper relevant because it's all about self-care and pampering and really making sure mom is healthy along with that. So we like to do a really fun mix of healthy and fun products. And it's packaged in such a way that it's themed around something going on during that month. And it's very relevant. So I think from the perspective of being sheltered at home, it's a nice welcome surprise to get this at your door, because you can actually take care of yourself and just take a minute to use the products and really just kind of take a second as a mom and take a time out and just kind of be there for yourself. Because I know there's a lot of stress going on with everything happening. So sometimes you just need to take that second and take that pause.
No, and I think that's for the audience and people listening, that's really where I see the purpose you brought with these boxes. And for pets, which were 9 months old and were growing rapidly, the core differentiator of the brand plays into your standards, and that all of the products are environmentally verified. And that was the standard that we wanted to set from day one. So there's no questioning, but there's transparency authority in what we're delivering as far as clean, safe, and
Absolutely.
And lastly, I think a lot of the work that I've shared with the group here is when we went into homes of parents, people wanting that safe and trust, and as retailers and people like yourself, these registries, that they also help navigate those questions.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think that, you know, just looking at kind of what everyone is dealing with right now with COVID, I mean, there's just so much uncertainty happening. Yes. And especially as a first-time mom, there's already uncertainty in being a first-time mom and trying to conceive for the first time and being a first-time mom. Then you add this on top of that. And it just affects mom in such a way that is just really hard. And, you know, I know we've gotten some moms calling in just because of just the stress, you know, and just trying to navigate these times. And, you know, you can definitely see it affecting mom for sure.
When you were growing your business, I think people would be interested to hear, was there a shift even in the first, what were some of the learnings you saw in sort of year 1 and 2 that people wanted from those, you know, boxes or bump boxes?
Absolutely. Well, when we originally launched, we launched as an e-commerce store. So we didn't even have a subscription when we launched. And it was all around the premise, you know, similar to Pipette, it was all around, you know, finding these safe and healthy pregnancy products that you could trust, you know, and you didn't have to do the research, and it was just already done. It was already done and ready to go. And that's really how we originally started. We pivoted to a subscription model early on because that's what mom wanted. I mean, after kind of talking to her on the phone, understanding what her needs were, we had all of these boxes as separate offerings and separate gift boxes. But it's like, all right, mom is stressed. Our mission is to make mom's life easier. Like, let's just get these boxes to her immediately every month, you know, and just set it up for her so she doesn't even have to think about it. Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
That's been actually one of my favorite things about, you know, this period of time. Like, I'm using Natalist right now because I'm trying to get pregnant again. This is like month number 1 of my conception journey. But, you know, it's such a, like, it's so nice to have. And I'm totally going to subscribe to bump boxes now because that'll abstract away. Yeah, I mean, but it's so hard right now, like, to know where to turn for information, for products, you know, and you know, with Pipette, actually, I used the lotion and the diaper balm on TJ, my son, and then I found myself stealing the lotion for myself. And
it works for both.
The diaper balm is so nice for your cuticles. Like, it's one of those, like, crazy, you know. But it's I think right now, like, it's so hard to know, like, products to trust, you know, where to look for this information, because there's so much happening if you go into all these parenting groups.
Right. Well, and even like I've noticed even like the shopping behavior has changed even, you know, because it's like the last thing mom wants to do is go to the store right now, you know, and so it's like we try to avoid it as much as we can. So you're kind of seeing a shift just in like the way mom even buys things, you know. I mean, I've even noticed it for my own family, you know, it's like the curbside pickup and getting, you know, spending time on e-commerce because it's just like not wanting to be around, you know, grocery stores right now, you know. Yeah.
So let's see if we've got Dr. Kenosha. Have we got you live?
I hope so. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yay!
Yeah, we can.
I'm finally here. I made it.
Sure. Why don't we let you just do a quick introduction? But really, as you've been hearing our conversation, it's been more about safety and transparency, but from your aspect of, you know, hygiene and steps for new mums, that would be, I think, very beneficial for the audience.
Yeah, I feel like I need some of that self-help and hygiene right now after being stressed trying to get on here.
Need a mommy break.
Yes, I'm gonna have a hot flash at any moment now. But yeah, I think definitely women and moms are at home and they are having to be very unique and strategic in how they care for themselves. So I think definitely it's a it's a subject matter of interest, making sure that we're not applying things that can be toxic to ourselves, and definitely for our pregnant moms, toxic to the baby or the unborn child. It's a big deal.
Mhm.
Exactly. And have you seen much shifts, in the hospital, and how, is there a lot of fear just with the families coming in, and obviously most importantly the mother who is about to, step into just, one of the most memorable parts of her life, giving birth?
Absolutely. We've seen lots of fear and anxiety regarding coming into the hospital and trying to pair this with such a joyous occasion, but then you're very fearful and anxious at the same time. And we just try to encourage patients, and even us at Natalist, we try to encourage patients and clients to basically focus on the facts, because if you focus on other things, then you can really stir yourself up and really come up with some decisions that you wouldn't ordinarily make. I know you guys probably all heard of the young woman who made a terrible decision, and she's regretting it now. But just sometimes we make decisions out of fear, but they're not based on facts. So focus on the facts, not the fear. That's our mission.
Great. And where could you just share with the group where your practice is and some of the work you've done over the last year or so?
Yeah, so I'm an OBGYN generalist. I practice in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm also the medical director of Natalist, a company that's really geared towards pregnant women and helping that journey to parenting become a more beautiful process, less stressful and more joyous.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today, and sorry for the stress.
Yeah.
And how many hours ahead? You're 3 hours ahead of us?
I am, and I'm also on call. So I just ran into home to tape this video. I have like a couple in labor. So that stress was basically overshadowed by this technical stress. But I'm good now. Happy to be here.
Well, we're all toast you, because I think most people are doing Zoom happy hours. I think I've done more happy hours than I've ever done in my life. So we're toast you, and thank you for dealing with major deliverables this morning.
Literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And moving over to Leslie, I mean, I think your book has, or maybe I should step back a little bit. When we met, myself and Leslie, at the launch of her book, Bumpin', we decided to take certain parts of it that we felt were so poignant and relevant, and we shared them with our community, Pipette Baby. And we had a lot of interest in it. We created a blog, so much so that for Mother's Day and that long weekend, we actually had a promotion of a giveaway of Leslie's books, which was tremendous. And even sort of 2 weeks later, we had people saying, have you got any more of the books left? I never, So it's a great book to read, and just been so well messaged, the whole journey. So I'll hand over to Leslie to really share some of her experience from it as well, and what to share with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, kind of a strange few months, because I should be on a book tour right now. And instead, I'm doing I'm like everyone else. I'm doing Zoom happy hours. I'm doing, virtual events, and it's great to have all of that. But, one of the things that I decided to do was to create this, this open source version to both answer some of the questions that I've had since releasing the book. So let me step back for a second. It actually goes all the way from conception through the postpartum period, because I actually found that, for me anyway, conception ended up being this giant box of wait, what's going on right now? And, all the things that can happen, all of the things that can go wrong, all the things that can go right. And that's why, I'm actually an investor in Natalist. Very proud investor. I think the company is amazing. I'm using it right now, personally. But, they're kind of debunking this conception period. I think the postpartum period is another one. I mean, Christine, my God, you guys probably, I'm so curious, do you guys service that too, right? I'm sure you go the first 3 months or something.
Yeah, so we actually have Bitsy boxes, which is a newborn to 3-year-old subscription. And within that, we also include mom products too. So it's a mix of mom and baby.
Yep.
But yeah, I think definitely on the postpartum side, I think that, yeah, there's something that needs to be done for mom. Just, you know what I mean? Like a
Yes.
little bit more than what already is today, especially on the medical side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, Dr. Kenosha, yeah, if you can speak to that a little bit even too. But yeah, I think to your point, Leslie, it's like the postpartum period is just kind of like this strange, awkward moment, especially as a first time mom.
Oh yeah. Well,
You're
no
like,
no one
am I
talks
doing
about
everything
it.
right? Like,
Yeah, no one
right,
ever
right,
talks
yes,
about it.
Right.
And I think like right now
yes,
is, I feel for pregnant women. Like it was 16 months of pregnancy
right.
for me, more or less, like one to the other to the other. So like I was pregnant for like almost a
Mhm.
year and a half. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, but like I would have completely imploded had I not taken a little bit of time just to like, it's easy when you don't have any kids. It's a little harder when you have one, as I'm learning with a
Right.
1-year-old.
Yeah.
A 1-year-old who is like very active and everywhere all of the time. Thank God he's not walking, but he's a very
Right.
fast crawler. But like I think this idea of self-care, like it gets kind of distorted in the media, but I think that there's something to it right now that's actually quite important. And to me, self-care is like sneaking into the bathtub for like 10 minutes before I go to bed after my son goes to sleep. Or like I used to like rub my ankles, which got super swollen, with moisturizer. With moisturizer, and just tried to like work out the aches and pains every day. Like it doesn't have to be going to like having a Goop style spa day, which none of us can have right now anymore. It's just small things, like showing yourself small kindnesses and not thinking that it has to be this kind of zero sum version of self-care. So that's a really important thing to me, even just during this period, thinking about being pregnant again and trying to do all this. But it's something I tell all of the people that reach out to me too. I ask them, what have you done for yourself today, even if it's like 2 minutes, even if it's hardly anything.
We got quite
Yeah, even just going for a walk.
Yes, Kristen, I was going to say that when we did the quantitative going into the houses of parents and asking them what they were looking for in a new baby range, what was important to them of products, we then heard from mothers saying, well, actually, I'd like to know that, this lotion I'm using, or is there a lotion that I can use, or a body wash or a bath wash and bath oil. So that's how we frame doing not just the normal, belly oil and belly butters, but really taking it out into very easy associated product that's for the mum as well as the baby. That's, with good feedback from that, and just giving people the opportunity to put a mask on at night that's safe for them as a pregnant mum, and they can go to sleep in it. And the next morning, they've given themselves a bit of cellular turnover.
Well, and I think we have to reframe this idea that self-care is somehow selfish when you're a mom, that every single moment and every single ounce of yourself has to be about, it's only about the baby. Like, guess what? You know what? Putting a mask on as you like go to sleep, even if it's like a silly Korean sheet mask, just to like make yourself feel like a human being. I don't know if I ended up with a C-section, but I remember after birth, like the first shower I took after the C-section was like maybe the best moment of my entire life. I had a very long and complicated labor. I have like my bag of urine with me. I'm like trying to figure out where to put it in the shower. It's like a whole thing, because I had some plumbing issues. It was like very complicated and weird. But like, I remember thinking like, no one really talked to me about this shower, but this is the best shower I've ever taken. Like, period, full stop. So even something small like that, like I took my own toiletries to the hospital. And this is something that's continued to come up for me. I put the book out, and this is something that I suggested to people, is like birth can kind of be the experience you want. Even now, you can take your own toiletries to the hospital. You can take your own towel. You can take your own toilet paper. Highly suggest that. A++, best decision. That was probably the best thing I took to the hospital, to be honest. And I didn't even have a vaginal birth. So But like I think we just have to be a little kinder to ourselves and to everyone else out there who's just doing the best they can right now.
Absolutely.
But I think that again,
I completely
what
agree.
Christine's done with the boxes as well is supplying people with things that they can use, and they don't need to even have to go out and purchase it. So if somebody can give you something that's meaningful like that. But, Dr. Kenosha, sorry, I spoke over you there.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I completely concur because, pregnant patients basically start seeing their doctor, their OB, like weekly at the end of pregnancy. So you go from seeing someone you love and trust and, you get your questions answered every week, and then you have the baby, and then we say, okay, we'll see you back in 6 weeks, and then it can be very isolated experience, and you can feel very vulnerable, and you kind of want to know that you have someone and you can basically listen to, but also get some self care by these products. So I think it's a great idea, especially the boxes.
Wonderful. Well, I had a few other questions. I was wondering if we wanted to, actually, maybe now I'm just looking at the time, whether or not with the audience, and I think we've got quite a few questions from the audience. How do we, in fact, I actually don't even know how we open the audience up for questions. So maybe somebody could help me here. Let's have a look. How do we open up the questions? Here, let's chat. Okay, I can see we've got a lot of people who have joined us. I'm actually going to ask, there's a few names of people I can see that I know. So I'm going to ask somebody if they could ask a question of my team, just so that we can see if we're doing the questions correctly or not. Oops.
Oh, here's one. Would you tell me how long I should wait to talk to my doctor about infertility? I know a doctor who has a good answer to that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so when the pandemic first started, the American Society of Reproductive Medicine stated that all current cycles of fertility should be continued, but do not start any new cycles. And that included like intrauterine insemination and IVF and embryo transfers and egg retrievals, all those sorts of things. Now, though, those guidelines are being looked at again a little differently, and those guidelines restrictions are being lightened a little bit. And so each geographic region is a little different, but I do know that some doctors are now starting to resume definitely doing consultations for infertility patients, and then kind of planning potential treatments and procedures in the coming months. So I definitely would reach out to your reproductive endocrinologist and just see what the time frame is for resuming services.
Great, thank you very much, Doctor. I also had a question here. Was there what was the reason, Christine, that actually made you sort of think about starting bump boxes? I know you said you started, I think, as an e-commerce shop. So what was the pivot?
Yeah, so when I was actually pregnant with my daughter at the time, and that's what really launched this idea. And I know, once you see that positive pregnancy test, I mean, there's just nothing but pure excitement. And then about 10-15 minutes in, you're just like, oh my gosh, now all of my decisions are going to affect someone else. I'm going to be a parent. Everything starting today is different. So, that moment hit me. And, I asked friends who were also trying to conceive and were also first-time moms, and they also had that moment. And so during that moment, I'm like, okay, I have to change my lifestyle. I have to eat better. I have to make sure the skincare I'm using is safe. I have to just completely do a lifestyle shift for her. And it wasn't even necessarily for me, it was for her. And so that's really where the idea started from. It was going into, a store, and there was an aisle of 500 body washes. And I'm like, how in the world is anyone supposed to know like what's okay to use during pregnancy? And it was through that stress and just talking to other moms that were going through the same thing that really started the idea and sparked it. And then my husband and I, we we worked on this for about a year and a half while we had, full-time jobs during the day, and we had a year and a half old at the same time. So it was like nonstop going that first year and a half. But yeah, it all just really stemmed around like just my daughter and just wanting to protect her from the very beginning. That's really where it started from.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got another question here. Is there any particular advice or precautions for those looking to conceive in this COVID era? I'm looking. Yes.
So that's for me. We have encouraging information from the American College of OBGYNs. We have consistently seen that COVID does not seem to disproportionately affect pregnant women, nor those who are actually earlier in their pregnancy in terms of miscarriage rates, nor those who contract COVID and they're pregnant in terms of fertility and achieving pregnancy or getting pregnant. So the good news is that COVID seems to affect pregnant patients and those trying to conceive just as it does the general population. We don't have we're months into this, right? So all of this is preliminary data, and the landscape is rapidly changing, but that's what we know. So I think we can take some confidence in knowing that we're probably okay, even if we're in the early stages of pregnancy or even later.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We've got another question here. What are your suggestions for advocating to have health insurance cover infertility? And Nicole, who's written to us, is saying that she's written to senators and done other outreach, but would love to see much more progress in this area.
I completely agree. Struggled with infertility for 3 to 4 years, and it was one of the most unpleasant time spans in my life. And I definitely can relate to that because it can be very expensive and it's cost prohibitive for many patients. And that's just, I think what she's doing in terms of lobbying and kind of getting people to understand and support her cause is very important. Reaching out to senators is definitely one way to go, and making sure that you involve your healthcare team as well, because often they have a voice and an ear for some of the ones who are the public officials, and just never giving up, because this has been a long battle and many people are fighting for that similar cause, which is a very worthy cause. Like infertility is like diabetes, it's like chronic hypertension, it's like diabetes, it's like any other disease entity, and it should be treated as such.
I think one of the challenges with infertility also is that, and at least this is what I ran into with my miscarriage and then the second lost, pregnancy, is that no one talks about it. And until people really start talking about it and start, and I think this is one of the fabulous things that Natalist does, like, in really kind of elevating people's stories, nothing changes until people talk and we realize how big of a problem this is. The longer infertility and miscarriage and everything else related to pregnancy stays in the shadows, research dollars won't be there, lawmakers won't care. So it's really up to all of us that are, that are passionate about this work. This is why I wrote my book, because I think it's really ridiculous that we don't talk about the hard parts, the challenges, that there's not more funding into infertility. It's another huge, huge thing. We don't even understand infertility. We don't even understand a lot about pregnancy, to be totally honest. A lot of it's just guesswork,
right.
And it's like disgraceful. I mean, like if it were men and their penises, like you'd bet we would have answers by now.
And there's a lot of shame also.
Yes.
There's a lot of shame associated with miscarriage and infertility. And so no one feels empowered to speak up. And the more we do, the more we can encourage others and share our stories, because many of us are now on the other end of that battle, and we have success and we do have children and we're parenting. And it's our job to encourage those who are still in the fight and the battle of infertility.
I love the way you said that it's the same as diabetes or hypertension. And I think that is the approach everyone needs to take. It's, it's something that is treatable, but it's equivalent to those type of illnesses or conditions. I think we've got time for one more question. We've got one here. Do any of you have any advice for new mums with brand new babies during this time, either regarding the baby's health or the mum's physical or mental health?
I do. Nodding. Yeah, I mean, this is an incredible, it's never easy to have a newborn, especially your first time as a parent. At least, like, I was like, what do I do with this thing? Like, I have no idea what to do. Like they boot you out of the hospital or your birth center, and then you go home and you're like, okay. And like we did all kinds of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
My husband forgot to put a diaper on our son for his first pediatrician appointment, and he pooped everywhere. And our pediatrician's like dying laughing. But like, I wrote a freaking book about pregnancy, and still the missing diaper, like it was, poop everywhere, swaddled, stroller, green, Slimer. It was disgusting, and I'm like hobbling to the office with like a C-section, walking like, a quarter speed. But I think that, when you're a new mom, and it feels very difficult to do this right now because we are quarantined, we're all sheltering in place, we're all trying to figure out what life looks like now, but you have to ask for help, even if it's a video chat. There are wonderful services like Maven, like Origin, that are available via telemedicine. Therapy, there is nothing wrong with therapy. I think it should be a mandatory part of postpartum support. I had a therapist when I had my pregnancy losses. It was the best thing I could have done for myself. There is no shame in therapy. So I think asking for help, really, owning what's going on, communicating with your partner or whoever is on this journey with you, family, friends, whoever you're comfortable with, but you cannot do it alone. And don't worry about being perfect. That's like the other thing that I like to talk about a lot, because like I'm totally type A. I had lots of things go wrong with my pregnancy. I was writing a freaking book about pregnancy. I still had a C-section. Breastfeeding lasted for 12 weeks. I was writing a book about this. I had every single practitioner and support mechanism at my disposal. And it wasn't during COVID. It was a year ago. Things still went wrong for me. You know what? My son is fine. Like, he's more than fine. He's really funny. He like crawls around. He's really quick. So I think just being kind to yourself, not looking for perfection right now or anytime, because like, as I think everyone on this call can tell you, when you have kids, like there's only so much you can control. So just get that idea out of your head, because it is just not a thing. Like, from the time you decide to have a baby, fertility, whatever, there's going to be something that goes wrong, and it doesn't make you less than. It just makes you like everyone else.
Yeah, there's always going to be a surprise, and the perfection just has to go out the window. You're going to wake up and there's going to be 3 things you weren't expecting. That's just motherhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got a few other questions which are being fed through from Instagram. One question here: what should I worry about after I conceive? I'm so stressed before, and now I'm afraid of everything hurting and or going through my pregnancy. So somebody who's just conceived and starting the 9-month journey of pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, you're fine.
Are you going to talk, Christine? Go ahead. Well, no, I was just going to reiterate what we've already stated. And basically, I think you have to focus on the things that you can control. There are entities that will be beyond your control, and they will cause fear. Like a pandemic can be scary, but you can't focus on that because you're pregnant, you're about to bring a baby into the world, and you have everything instilled within you to protect that baby and to make right decisions. You are a maternal being, and God placed that in you. So it's definitely not something that I feel that you should be worried about. Certainly, if you have concerns, contact your reproductive health team. You want to make sure that you get your questions answered. And I love what we're talking about in terms of self-care, basically taking care of your spiritual, your emotional, your physical health. And that's what we try to stress at Natalist as well. We want clients to take care of themselves, and you'll be empowered to take care of your baby.
We've got another question here, more about sort of hygiene, and questions about, and this is sort of topical really for Pipette and for all of you, is around about things like hand sanitizers and hygiene. And I think most of you know, during March, we actually had a hand sanitizer coming into the Pipette range in the whole family arena, of which we're launching next year. But we brought it forward to really support our Pipette community. And as most of you know, we also decided to take the first tranche to support hospitals and nurses with the allocation we made of this hand sanitizer. And I think the thing that I learned personally on this was questions that seem so silly, but people didn't really know the answers of how often can I use a hand sanitizer? Can I use it 20 times a day, 50 times a day? Can I have it on my hands close to a baby? So it really demonstrated to us that first off, we obviously delivered a hand sanitizer that was, very good quality, and we've just got the EWG verification on it. But it's more about the education of letting people know what type of alcohol's in it. Why do we need that alcohol? What is the germ-free test? What does that actually mean? And are people doing it correctly? And or are they even doing that test? And then why is one better than the other? And also how to use it. So that taught us quite a bit about a community that asked us on something that we thought was really quite simple. And I think it builds into also questions about the very beginning, talking about how to wash your hands. And I thought that might be a good thing to go around the group, because it was something that just actually educating us. You need to wash your hands this way and for this amount of time. And maybe it's something that we just started dropping because we all rush around so much. So I don't know if anybody's got thoughts on that of hygiene just as a family and as a mother, and how using basic things like that, using them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell you that, I never go anywhere without a mask, for sure. I'm especially as someone who's trying to conceive, and I plan it. It's mask wearing has become this like politicized issue. It's ridiculous. Like the science is indisputable,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like, there has been something really beautiful for me about returning to a simpler way of taking care of myself. Now that it's like all on me, I can't go anywhere or do like, I have like a horrible breakout right now. I haven't had skin this bad since like, I don't even know when. And I have no idea why. Caroline, you and I can talk about this later. I need your help. But, it's kind of all on me right now. And I'm finding that like actually taking the 20 seconds to scrub my hands is kind of like time for me. I sit there and I kind of count and I'm like, okay, now I, can go deal with my 1-year-old again. But like, it's a kind of beautiful thing, and teaching him how to do it, like he's like 1 and like a week or something now. And like when he finishes eating, like I take him over to the sink and I'm like, now we wash our hands, and he puts his hands under the sink and I put a little soap on there, and so anyway, it's kind of been a nice, I've enjoyed kind of some of these moments of like revisiting the things I was always in too big of a rush to do, as you said so well.
Yeah, I think it's we've done, I think we all felt that we'd exhausted singing happy birthday when we wash our hands. A lot of our team, both in, a lot the brands at Amorous have children. So a group of them put together a Spotify song baby list or toddler list of songs they can listen to where they're washing their hands. So we can share that with all of you on our site. So I think we're coming close to, the end of this. I'm trying to look at the time, but I think we're coming close to the end. And I just wanted to see if, we could, number one, thank everybody who joined us and came into the summit in the session and shared their questions. And I think going forward, I'll let the Honestly team share that with us, but I think we will still be able to answer questions through the collection of these Q&A and also Instagram. We also wanted to just say that we were sharing with everybody both Leslie's book, was sharing a link out with Christine and the bump boxes. And we've also put a Mother 25, which is a code which will allow people to come in and have I think it's a 25% off to really support all the mothers in this time and support their babies and themselves. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.